Now in this temperature here, the engine usually heats up pretty quick, to be honest.
Only a few minutes, it's already off idle. So this is pretty funny, and you really can't make stuff like this up. Once a year, and today was the day, I have to basically spend the whole morning at our medical group's office and go through a battery of tests because of health issues I've had in the past. And they confirm that I'm not going to die in the next 2 weeks, and that I shouldn't. They always say, well, you're too old to ride motorcycles, you know, you're too old to do your own yard work, you're too old to climb ladders, and you're too old to do this and that and what. And then I say, oh yeah, I'm going to quit all that, and I'm going to, you know, just sit on my front porch and get a rocking chair, and then as soon as I get home, I call Luciano, let's work on some motorcycles. And it's a long story. Anyway, long story, and I wanted to start the day off with a great story. The doctor that we have now, and it's a new doctor, a new woman doctor, in fact, that the man retired, and he was great for many, many years. He recommended this woman doctor, and this is absolutely a true story. My wife goes first. She went a week ago. So Karen goes, and she says, oh, you're not going to like this doctor. She has no personality at all. Oh my God, she's cold as ice. She's not, no, you know, you're never going to be happy with her. So my day was today. I go in there. She's Sophia Loren, and she's happy as can be, and she's wearing a mask, and and you know, yeah, you like Italian food, and I love her. I love her, Dr. Ferrazzo. Mwah. Anyway, that's my funny story today. Anyway, I've gotten such wonderful feedback. A couple of things about that little thing I put on my father's story out on the internet. I'm going to try to incorporate the whole story into some future video on a rainy day or something. But today I thought, since it's already after lunch, I think, it was too late to go for a ride, and it's getting up into the 90s, and I thought, well, this might be a great day to do the maintenance work on the R1. And then pretty much I'll be ready for another 3,000 miles of doing whatever it is we do here with the motorcycle. So rather than, you know, tell any more funny stories, I want to get the day started. It's already late in the day, and get everything ready for the oil change. Get a new filter, the oil, I got the oil, I got the pan, I'm looking around here. I wanted to get this done, and this would be one big giant step for mankind if I can get this done today. And normally on our video we're feeding the fish breakfast. Today they're getting their lunch. But anyway, the whole physical thing did go good, and they told me as long as I stop riding motorcycles, I'll probably live another year. And Dr. Ferrazzo said just keep eating vegetables, and keep that healthy lifestyle I have, and make sure that Valentine radar detector is plugged in. Anyway, every day the garden is nicer than the day before, and boy, never want to forget to thank Nanda Navola for getting us started with these zinnias. We now have a zinnia farm. So an oil change, relatively simple thing, just a lot of something that you try to always postpone. I know in the past I've tried to postpone it, and in the past I've gone and started an oil change not realizing I didn't have a filter. So, well, you know. Now for me, because I have rugs in my shop, and because I'm basically always a little bit sloppier than I think I am, I always take one of my extra rugs and turn it upside down so the rubber back is up. So if I happen to drip some oil on there, just makes the cleanup a little easier. And I remember the days of doing oil changes on my 55 Chevy in the driveway at my old house. The driveway looked like an oil tanker that crashed and sank. Now every one of these bikes needs a certain amount of maintenance, and I have maintenance logs. I have a whole book of notes and when I do the maintenance, and there's certain rules of engagement I try to adhere to. Now it's pretty simple. I've had this bike, just as an example, since day one. They recommend oil change, and this is an example, every 4,000 miles, and a filter every other oil change. Well, you know, the oil filters are so cheap. I just decided right from the beginning I was going to replace the oil filter and do it at 3,000 miles, not 4. That's proven to be a good investment because here we have, I'm guessing, at least 60,000 miles on this bike, and it runs like a Rolex watch and doesn't burn any oil at all. And all of the bikes in my collection, I want them to last forever. You know, hey, I'm 74, I'm going to be 75. So what do you think? I got 2 more years left to ride, 3 more years, but no matter what I got, even if this is the last year, I want them all to run like Rolex watches. So it's an easy peasy job. Step 1, take the bike outside, you get the engine up to 180 degrees. Once I see the temperature, it'll start showing numbers. It'll be at 180. It's 180. We're ready to dump the oil.
Now in this temperature here, the engine usually heats up pretty quick, to be honest.
Only a few minutes, it's already off idle. The fuel injection has lowered the idle already. So we just have to listen to a little CROSSPLANE music here. Now it's funny, if you stand behind this bike, you can feel the exhaust. It comes out like boxing gloves. I'm not sure the inline bikes do that, but the CROSSPLANEs, they have a real cadence to them. And while we're talking about maintenance on this bike, the Pirelli tire now has enough mileage on it that I feel safe, and that the handling has been good, and it's a relatively, I'm not sure how soft it is, but it's a relatively soft tire. They do use them for track days. I don't know how it's going to last. I know they've lasted much longer time than the Michelin's for Vlad. So we'll see if that all comes to fruition. Okay, we're up to temperature. Time to put the bike back in the shop and dump the oil. Now, what's tricky about this particular bike, because we have a lowering link, the bike sits an inch or 2 lower, and it's a little tricky getting the oil pan in the right spot so that we can get the oil out of the drain plug and the filter without getting. Look, I've already got some on here already. Can you believe this? I haven't even opened up the bike. Well, it's on the gloves. Anyway, but getting that oil pan, I just always try to do this as neat as possible, and it's always a little messy. Just a little messy. Like my grandson, just a little messy. So step 1 is 5 Zeus fittings that pull this part of the fairing off, and then it's very easy to get the oil pan positioned in where you have to get it, even with the lowering link. It's just a little tricky. And so this is the main drain plug. That's going to have to come out. We're going to have to get the drain plug, the pan, in such a position, and it is just a little tricky. There we go. Now once we pull that out, and then we'll be able to pull the filter out from under here, and it's a little tricky wiggling it out. It's not a big deal, but it's when the pipes are hot, that's a little bit of an issue. So I have a way of dealing with it. What I'm going to do is pull the drain plug out, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go mow the grass or do the weed whacker or something to give this time to cool off before I get my fingers in there, because it is a little, and you can burn yourself. These pipes are red hot right now. And because everything is really hot right now, I'm trying to be really, really careful. Again, I always try to keep in mind everything here is red hot right now. Roughly 180 degrees. There's the oil. There's the drain plug. And now we'll just wait patiently, and it's a good idea to rock the bike back and forth and take your time. You can see that oil that oil has 3,000, a little over 3,000 miles on it. Now what I always do, and it's a good little tip, all these little Zeus fittings, let me just show one of these. What happens where the threads go, I try to put one little drop of oil on them. It just makes, the next time you go to snap them out, they snap in and snap out beautifully. That's a nice feature of the Yamaha. Now while I'm waiting for all this oil to drain down, you could just leave the last spoonful in there. I like to be fanatical about it. Get every drop I can out till I don't even see a slight drop. But I have other things to do, yard work today, and I'm going to try to get them done while this is draining out. Now another good idea I do, I just do this little rock back and forth thing, and I always see another little spoonful of oil come out. I'm sure that doesn't make a big difference, but I don't know. I plan on doing the best maintenance I possibly can, and how long it takes won't matter because today's not a riding day. So it's basically been about a half an hour now, and every drop of oil that I could possibly get out of here is out. And truth in advertising here, I always like to try to combine something. I never feel happy knowing I've trapped an extra spoonful of this dirty oil in there. I don't know why. So just trying to be the best maintenance I possibly can be, because having these bikes, this bike now is 11 years old, and I don't want to compromise certainly the maintenance on it, that's for sure. Might help if you use the right wrench too. And nothing happens good when you let the maintenance go. Now luckily our town has a good deal. In our recycle center, you can just go drop it off. I usually put it in a milk crate, drop it off, get rid of the old filter, and well, in this case I'm getting rid of an old paper towel too. So we'll get rid of all of that, and then we're ready to button this up. Now I usually store the old oil until I get 4 or 5 of them, and then make one trip down there. Okay, the filter is on tight, everything's checked. Well, the next step is to get this piece on, and this of course is pretty straightforward. There's a bunch of little tabs that have to be lined up, and then once we're all lined up, of course, we can start putting the Zeus fittings in. Now, there are a bunch of little tabs on this that just need to be lined up. And once you get one of them lined up, this fairing piece has to get pushed in and then pushed forward, and then the last of the Zeus fittings up here get lined up. So it's actually pretty nice how this all goes together. There's 5 fittings all together, and we're pretty much ready to wipe this down and put the oil in. Now, believe it or not, it doesn't look like I made too much of a mess here, but when we're done we'll clean that up, of course. And time to get the oil in. Now I've heard, I don't know for sure, that some motorcycles, not all, if you were to put a quart of extra oil in, you can do engine damage, you blow seals out or whatever. So I'm always very careful to I put oil in little by little by little, run it for a split second, check the window, run it. But I'll start by just putting roughly 3 quarts in. It usually takes 3, and just about, you never know exactly what that last little amount is. Now, because I got a lot of money invested in this motorcycle, and I want it to last, well, longer than my life, I use real YAMAHA lube. I don't buy, oil at Walmart or anything. I really want to have the protection. And usually if you try being cheap with the oil, you wind up paying in the end. Especially if you keep motorcycles like I do. Now, there's always a little gauge on the side here. It tells you how much oil you're putting in. But in the beginning, until I start to see that oil come on a window, I can just put it in slow. I don't want to rush. I don't want to drop a half a quart on the mat here, on the rug or anything. So this part of it, once I get about 3 quarts put in there, I'll check the window. I want to make sure I got 3 quarts in before I ever even attempt to hit that starter button. I didn't put enough in yet that I can see the oil coming up in the window, so again, I'd rather be safe than sorry, because if I put too much in, I want to be right in the middle of that mark. And I don't want to take a chance on overfilling it, since this motorcycle basically never uses any oil, but I check it every time I ride, of course. Let's see what we got right now. All right, we're just starting to see it come up on the window. All right, we're close. We're getting close. So every time I do this, and the one thing not to do that I found, and I used to do it years ago, I'd go, a little extra oil never hurt anything, and I'd put the whole gallon in, and I'd have to drain some out. But I don't know. The fact is, I don't really know, and probably people that do this super professionally would be a lot more qualified than me. Okay, now we're going to be getting closer and closer, so we're going to be doing smaller and smaller amounts of. Okay, we're coming up very slowly now, very slowly. Now I've got to be real careful. That oil is almost clear because it's brand new oil, of course. Now I've got it just under the middle. The bike is standing straight. I'm trying to hold it straight and level, and that is always the right amount. Now what I'll do is I'll run the bike, let it sit, and then check it a couple more times before I actually go out for a ride. But we have other maintenance to do too. I'm just going to let it run for 30 seconds and then recheck that oil that we're right on the money. Okay, after running it now, I see I could use a little bit more oil. I'm at the bottom of where I want to be. So now I can add oil just a little bit at a time until I bring that right up to the middle of the window. Now the problem is a lot of times here you get impatient and you just want to get this done, and in this case it's really hot out here. But I do want to get this accurate, and I have to go back and forth a few times, but in the end, to get it right, it'll be right until the next oil change. I see I'm just a little bit on the low side. I probably could use a couple more ounces of oil. I want it to be right in the middle. So we spent quite a bit of time getting that oil level right where we want it, and the whole idea of running it when it only has 3 quarts of oil in it is you're basically putting oil into the new filter, filling it up, and then if you just look at that and hadn't run it, you'd be whatever amount of oil in the filter off. And I don't know if that includes all motorcycles, but I know that from experience, that if you're changing the filter, you should run it, let it sit for a minute, and then check that oil again. And it sounds like it would be an unimportant thing that, no, you know what, in the end, when you want a bike to last forever, and you want it to run right, and you want it to be reliable, and you take into all these accounts. Now, I personally don't like buying and flipping bikes. Well, I like to buy a bike and take excellent care of it, turn it into as many Evil Twin projects as I can, and we're coming up on the next Evil Twin project very soon. Thanks to Chris, I won't let the cat out of the bag. And we still have work to do on some of the other bikes and tire swaps and everything, but I like doing my own maintenance because then I know the bolts are tight, and if they're not, it's on me. It's not on some kid that just got out of MMI and he's smoking pot in the back room and everything. I want to have that I'm responsible for it. And the rest of the maintenance involves the chain, and this chain only has about 10,000 miles on it, so it's relatively in good shape. And I don't have a big loose spot on it yet, so I'm just checking. I have an inch of play all around. When it's on the center stand, not when it's off the ground and the back wheel is hanging down is what I'm saying. Yeah, we're good to go. So I'll get my rag with a little diesel fuel and just clean this up just a little bit, and we'll be good to go. Now what I always keep is an old rag that it's too old to be used for obviously waxing motorcycles or whatever, and so it's real handy for doing this, just getting the grit off the chain. And again, the little maintenance pays off. I just think, and the older a bike is, the more important it is to do the maintenance. I think if you bought a brand new R6 and you let the maintenance go, the world wouldn't end. But if you got a 10-year-old one and you let the maintenance go, oh, I don't know. I don't know about that. But anyway, I try to keep the bikes up. I try to pass on the information that has helped me keep the bikes up into a reasonably nice riding condition. And what's good about it, and it works, today is the day. Today is payday. When I go for my physical and Dr. Ferrazzo says, your blood pressure's good and your this is good and that's good, and you know, hey, I always think, well, part of that is the exercise I get from my daily motorcycle ride on days that I'm able to ride. And number 2, doing all my own yard maintenance and things like that. And I realize not everybody that's my age is able to do that. But as long as I am, I want to do it myself. And I want to reap the benefit of doing it myself. I want to go to that annual physical like I did today and have them tell me all good things. Not say, oh my God, you don't look a day over 90. Oh, well, I'm pretty religious about it, and Karen is big with the vegetables, and I don't know. And I'm big with the motorcycle maintenance. And I've heard, they asked, I don't remember, it was Kevin Cameron, I think, said, if you only do one motorcycle maintenance item, what is the best one to do? And he says, the oil changes. Nothing prolongs the life of a motorcycle more than a proper oil change every, I don't know, they recommend, the R1 recommends 4,000 miles. I do it at 3,000. I just think oil is so cheap. And working, when you let it go and you let things get out of hand and it starts burning oil and you have to do valve seats and everything, oh, then you wish you had bought an oil tanker. So I think this was really good solid use of a day, and I always try to think at the end of every day, did I use this day productively or not? Well, because I was in the doctor's office all morning, I got to, and I personally did this. This is something you might want to do that's kind of free, and I always like doing things that are free and they have a positive impact on the world. Every time in this big office we go to, there were people, as you walked in, people at the desk, people at the doctor, the nurse that comes in, and I thanked each one of them for their service. I personally thanked them. And at the end of it, I thought, I wonder how many people just don't do that. They don't realize how important these people are, keeping us out safe, our families safe, happy, whatever, and that we can go for motorcycle rides and have these maintenance days. So I think it was a day well spent. As I always say in the morning, I'm ready to get out on the open road, only it's really late right now, not appropriate right now. But I am so happy now. I will be looking at riding the bike the next time I ride it with the fresh oil in it. There's just something about it. I know it's all done right. I know I didn't leave anything loose, I hope. But anyway, one final tip, one final little thing that I know from doing oil changes on 55 Chevys. And I won't mention any names either. I know every once in a while that you can do a day like this, the phone rings and all the birds need to be fed or something, and you forget to tighten the drain plug all the way, or you forget to safety wire the oil filter or whatever. And when you do that, and you put it out in the driveway and start it for the next ride, you look underneath and there's a spoonful of oil, you think, ah! So what I always would do at the end of everything is run it with, I have to rub a mat under it, just so I don't have to clean my driveway. Anyway, good tip. Always better to be safe than sorry, and super important to get that oil right in the middle where you're not popping the seals out of the motor or whatever bad happens. Luciano probably knows. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I enjoy making them. I enjoy sharing my life, even that little episode with my dad with his adventures in motorcycling. Every one of us that's interested in motorcycling has a different story to tell, a different adventure, some people like dirt bikes, some people like Harleys, some people like sidecars, some people like, and it is people like me that just want to have it all. I wish Jay Leno in his will would say, Wendy, you're such a good guy, I'm going to leave you my whole motorcycle collection, especially my H2 Kawasaki two-stroke. I will be waiting at the phone this afternoon to see if Jay responds to that. Anyway, again, thank you so much for watching.